Have you read Yvonne Nelson's book titled, I Am Not Yvonne Nelson? What is your take-home message? What do you think is the most important message for women, especially young women who are yet to become mothers? And in general, what are you learning? What am I learning? All of us, being a man or a woman, what are we taking from the book? Or the psychodia type, the psychodia part is the most important aspect of the book. Well, we at the Blacknificent Studio are done reading the book from beginning to the end. All the chapters, all the paragraphs, and we've made our notes. And tonight we are here to share some of the most important portions of the book, what we think can help all of us, especially. We have about 3 videos to do out of this book, and the first one we're doing is what we can learn from Yvonne Nelson's mother and her own life as young women, most importantly, and also to know the secret dark world of female manipulation and female abuses, how dangerous they are. And because nobody sees it, because the female abuse is not physically felt, most of the time we don't put our mind over there. And by the time we realize it has caused unrepairable damage to whoever its victim was. And one of such victims is Yvonne Nelson herself, from the book she wrote and just published about a few weeks ago. I am not Yvonne Nelson, meaning the man she was told to be her father ended up not being her father. A second man was also introduced to be her father. A DNA test also proved that man was not her father. And because of that, we come to the title of the book. I am not Yvonne Nelson. She's not Yvonne Nelson, meaning she's still looking for herself. And if you have read the book to the end, the ending part will tell you that all is not that well with our sister, not even after publishing this book. And I pray that whoever is closer to this girl, they should really keep an eye on her. And if government or whoever has that power that be can get closer and see the best psychological support we can give this dear sister of ours. And before I finish this video, let me also tell people to be aware of women who started giving birth in the 1980s in Ghana and most part of Africa. Especially in Ghana, the children that were born in the 1980s, if those children decide to go hard on their mothers, it will be a terrible situation in every majority of homes in Ghana. The 1980s was a period where women in Africa were learning from what was going on in the Western world, especially in America, where the last stage of feminism, the last wave, had happened in the 1960s. And you know, whenever something happened in the West, it takes a couple of years for it to go into full gear in Africa. And that is what was happening in Ghana. I don't know about other part of Africa in the 1980s. They have seen the so-called independent lifestyle that happened in the West, especially in America. The 1960s also catapulted the sexual revolution. The 1960s to 70s catapulted or introduced the contraceptive pill, which made it easier for women to have casual sex and not come home with a receipt, which is pregnancies. So this kind of lifestyle had happened. The 1960s to the 70s also marked the era at which a lot of women became career women, having their own jobs, being educated and all of that, tasting higher education and all of that. So after it has taken root in the West, 20 years later, Africans has got wind of it through the. So having sex with multiple partners became easier in the 1980s in Ghana because the contraceptive pill had been introduced. But just like still in the States right now in 2023, a lot more black women are giving birth without knowing their children's fathers, like having 4 children with 4 different men, even in the face of about 40 contraceptive alternatives or pills. The same thing happened here in Ghana. Well, if you've made it this far on the show, do well to subscribe, like the videos, write your comments so that YouTube will push this video to other people to also learn from the most important things we are learning from Yvonne Nelson's book. So, if children who were born in the 1980s, especially in Ghana, want to rise up, some women will run away from their own houses. Because a lot of children who were born without knowing their parent, their fathers, happened in the 1980s. Some knew their fathers, but because of that feminism ideology that was going on, education that was going on, the little money that many women, when they have little money, they felt they could take care of their own offsprings alone. I was a victim of that era. My grandmom decided would not allow my mother to live with my dad. So the last time I saw my dad and his house was when I was 4. I never set an eye on my father again till he died. For some strange reason, it was when my father died that I had a closure. All the pain, the hatred I had for him died out the day I was told he has died. One day I'll do a video and tell you how I used to think about my dad that then when I meet him, even when he is dead, what I would do to him. But the day I was told he was dead, that was it. So today, let's go into Yvonne Nelson's book and the most important things that I have jotted down. Whilst I was reading the book, I was taking my own notes. So we'll go into some of the notes that I took down. So anytime I'm jotting down, I write my mini headline. So here I said, Yvonne Nelson's mother did not know her own father until later in life. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we should write down. So Yvonne Nelson is a victim and a byproduct of fatherless lineage. The mother of Yvonne Nelson didn't know her own father until she has given birth to all her 3 children, including Yvonne Nelson. So if you have read a book and you are wondering why this woman would be so indifferent, so adamant in helping her daughter to find her father, the answer is right here. Yvonne Nelson's mother never knew her own father until later in life. So from this part, Yvonne Nelson wrote in the book, my mother had grown up not knowing her father, or rather, she knew the wrong father. So seriously, let's be lenient on this sister. She suffered a lot. The mother was told a different father. Okay, just like Yvonne Nelson. And Yvonne Nelson's mother believed that this man they told was her father was the father until later. She was lucky. Later on, she met their real father. So we are still on Yvonne Nelson. I want us to go slowly from where the problem started from and why it will be difficult for Yvonne Nelson to get any answer to her problem. My mother had grown up not knowing her father, or rather, she knew the wrong father. She bore the surname Glover Addy. She told me how selfish life was in the house of Mr. Glover Addy. Oh, she told me how hellish the life in that house was. Hellish. It was like she was living in hell. Hellish life was in the house of Mr. Glover Addy. The man's wife, she told me, couldn't stand her. Okay? That's Yvonne Nelson's mother's stepmother. That's her wrong stepmother. She felt it was beyond the usual late tale of a fractured relationship between a stepmother and a stepchild. The house did not lack substance, but the size of the bread the woman served her was enough communication that the intention was to starve and not to feed her. Okay, so guys, let's break this down. So if we have read this book and wondering why all attempts made by Yvonne Nelson for her mother to point to her, who her real father is, has gone unanswered, this is the source. The woman herself didn't know her father. She, just like what she has done to Yvonne Nelson, was told a different man to be her father. It was later in life that they went to Nima to meet the real father for Yvonne Nelson's mother. Now that cleared off the road. Let's go to Yvonne Nelson herself. Okay. So please do well to subscribe and share the video and like, comment for us. So now, let's go to the next point. Why did her mother refuse to let her know about the second father? So Yvonne Nelson wrote, she initially wanted to tell me. She explained, I was 10 years old at the time, and she felt the need to let me in on who my father was. This is after Yvonne Nelson has confronted her, and the mother has, for the first time, denied Mr. Nelson to be her father. All this while for about 30 years, Yvonne Nelson's mother has told her Mr. Nelson was her father. Okay? And then, after 30 years in 2016, Yvonne Nelson gathered the courage, and Mr. Nelson is not her father. Rather, Honorable Peter Alajete, the former Speaker of Parliament, is supposed to be her father. And Yvonne Nelson asked her, why didn't you tell me earlier? And this is the answer the mother gave to Yvonne Nelson. She says she initially wanted to tell me. She explained, I was 10 years old at the time, and she felt the need to let me on in who my father was. But the man she consulted advised against it. That man one Pastor Riafe had often prayed with her. When she sought a second opinion from him, he said it was not necessary. I was only 10. Peter Alajete was married and didn't have to disrupt the present by stirring up an unpleasant past. Pastor Riafe advised. The decision, therefore, was to keep me in the dark forever. So it was a man of God. A man of God. Someone who is supposed to be a counselor, be there for people psychologically, was the one who advised Yvonne Nelson's mother to keep information away from her. But anyway, that information wouldn't have done much, because if Yvonne Nelson was told that maybe when she grew up and then tried to do DNA tests, it was going to end up disappointing her the more. Anyway. And as the title of this video goes, Yvonne Nelson's mother has exposed, or the book Yvonne Nelson wrote has exposed a certain dark world into females. And I've done a video here titled The Strength of a Woman That Every Man Must Know Before You Go into a Relationship with Them. So Yvonne Nelson has been a subject of abuse from day one, since she was a child, from primary time up to this time where she's about 2 years into 40 years. Okay, so when you read a book, after Yvonne Nelson was told Mr. Nelson was the father, and after 30 years, the mother said no, Yvonne Nelson was told Peter Alajete was the father. Yvonne Nelson contacted Peter Alajete's family. But then Mr. Peter Alajete has died 8 years ago. So she has to contact the children. The children welcomed her. They agreed to do a DNA test with her. They did a DNA test and it was negative. But before I come here, let me show you this title that I wrote. Her mother treated her with narcissistic behavior. I'm not saying Yvonne Nelson's mother is a narcissist, but the way she treated the daughter from childhood up to date is what many clinical psychologists will consider to be narcissistic tendency or behavior disorders. Okay? Even when Yvonne Nelson was a child, anytime she does something wrong, the best punishment the mother can give to her is to remind her of her being a mistake child. A child she never wanted to give birth to. A child she attempted aborting. Okay? And I'll do another video specifically on the sarcodiac part. And let you know that Yvonne Nelson was attracting who she was. Her mom has been neglecting her from day one, abusing her, making her go through pains and never cared. And it was similar thing that happened between she and Sarkodie, even though Sarkodie has not come out to let us know why she left her after he drove her to the hospital. Okay, now why am I saying her mother treated her with narcissistic behavior? When Yvonne Nelson did her DNA test with Peter Alajete's children, okay, and the results came, Yvonne Nelson decided to go to her mother and confront her and see if this mother would be mother enough to, for the first time, tell her who the father is. And immediately, Yvonne Nelson confronted her. Listen to what the mother did. She burst into trade of accusation and abuse. And this is what is called a narcissistic parlance as gaslighting. People gaslight you when they have wronged you, and they try to let it seem like you are the one who have wronged them. Your daughter, from day one, when she was 10 years or lesser, has been trying to know who the father is. And on the second occasion, you gave her a name. She went to do a scientific check, and that man was not the father. She comes, and right after she confronts you with that, you begin to trade insult and accusations and abusive words. I guess that was what she meant. Let's continue. She told me she knew I was up to something. She said she had dreamt that I would disgrace her, and what was unfolding that morning was not new to her. That this is gaslighting. This is gaslighting. Somebody doing something negative to you, something unpleasant to you, and you try to confront them to own up, to be remorseful. Instead of being remorseful, they won't be remorseful. They will rather gaslight you to turn everything on you as if you are the one who have hurt them the most. Wow. Let's go on. I was not going to fall for any form of emotional blackmail, and I made her know it. I told her she probably knew I would search and find answers beyond her words. To dream about it meant her God was talking to her. I told her it was the reason she should tell me the truth so that we both bring closure to the subject. Okay? And after Yvonne Nelson's mother gaslighted her, she left the house. And for almost a year, the mother never called to even find out how the daughter is feeling. Okay? This is wickedness. And if you tell many clinical psychologists, they will tell you if this is not narcissistic behavior, then it could be. Yvonne Nelson's mother might have slept with different men. And because of that, she cannot tell which of them got her impregnated. For me, it is two things. It's either she's a narcissist or she had double dating. She was sleeping with multiple men. Because of that, she can't pinpoint who did it. And even that, after you've used Takashi to bulldoze your way and your daughter left your house with anger, why wouldn't you call her and console her? She would never do that. So, Yvonne Nelson was battling with depression and a whole lot of anxieties, and one of her friends, Fianco Bossman, who was in the US, told Yvonne Nelson that he's going to call Yvonne Nelson's mother to let her know that as a mother, your daughter is going through a lot because of your mistakes, because of your neglect. So this is what Yvonne Nelson said. Fianco, he told my mother that I was suffering emotionally. He begged her to open up to me and help me. my mother would have reached out, but it has been 7 months since the last attempt to touch her heart, and she has still not called. So after Yvonne Nelson has done her DNA test and gone to confront her with the result, another person called to let the woman know what Yvonne Nelson was going through. After that, 7 months has passed. The woman wouldn't call to find out what her daughter is going through. It helps to think that she doesn't care how I feel or what happens to me. Yes, that is a very, 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 very difficult situation to be in. So let's look at this point too. Yvonne Nelson could not finish the book without exposing the ignorance of feminism. Okay? So I'll go to that. But before that, let me say here that our ancestors knew of female promiscuity. They knew females want to have multiple sexual partners. So they put certain things in place to curb it. And I've prepared a program on why polygamy is accepted by female promiscuity is frowned upon by many societies. So ancestors have so many ways of curbing female promiscuity. And this could be a typical result of female promiscuity. And that is why I always say on every platform that I go that when females become promiscuous, they bring problems. Whilst when men are promiscuous, most of the times they bring solutions and peace. Okay? So in conclusion, on the things, the lessons that we need to learn. The lesson that we need to learn is that young women, stay away from double dating. Young women, stay away from double dating. Men, when you're having sex with women, be conscious of it. And when they tell you they are pregnant for you, if it is sketchy and they want to give birth, let them give birth. After birth, do your DNA test. If it is yours, keep it. If it is not yours, you move on. But there are so many other things that I want to talk about in this book, and I'll see if I have time to do that. But one other thing that I want to talk about is how Yvonne Nelson showed her feminist ideologies in this book. So over here, I titled it, Yvonne Nelson could not finish the book without exposing the ignorance of feminist talking point. She says that men get away with a lot of things. Also, I think they control a lot of things in the world, and they dictate the pace and sometimes the faces of women's life. They vastly outnumber their female counterpart in every industry. In entertainment, a woman needs more than just talent to succeed. A woman needs to be mentally tough, principled, and ever ready to suffer for not yielding to the demands of every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Okay. So to this is what I have to say. Yes, men dominate, and men will continue to dominate. The day men decide not to dominate, this world will crash. Because one, women don't have the strength and the capacity to build the infrastructure for everything that makes this world livable. That makes this world sustaining. And it's about time women stop following that foolish, useless thing called feminism and face reality. Women are able to do so many things that they are doing today because men civilized the world. Made it safe, made it civilized for women to be able to compete in it. Naturally, the world is not a place women can strive. So men need to build and make it a level playground. So I appreciate that. It's the same thing women in the US are fighting, that they want to get the same salary as the male football players and basketball players. How many women globally watch women football? But males football, because of the high competition, is so beautiful that women even take time to go and watch it. So don't say that men get away with so many things. Women rather get away with so many things today. Let me leave it here. I'll come back and do a proper session on this session of men getting away with things. This bogus, baseless, feminist talking point. But in conclusion, this book has reviewed how dangerous Yvonne Nelson's mother is and has been to this woman. She has damaged her mentally. And we only pray that she will continue to seek proper psychological therapeutic support, so that what she has been through does not affect her daughter. Okay? So the number one thing that I'm taking from this book is that, one, is either her mother was double dating, or she's just a narcissist. She enjoys her daughter suffering. That's why she will never open up to her. But whatever it is, this has been the Men's Voice podcast. Here with me, Kwabena Bibini Berima. Please do where to subscribe and share the video for us.